Many people believe that life begins when they find the right people. They think happiness will arrive the day someone finally understands them, supports them, stays beside them, and fills the empty spaces inside their hearts. From childhood, society quietly teaches you this idea. Your parents say you will be happy when you find good friends. Movies tell you that one day the perfect lover will come and complete you. Stories repeat the same message again and again, that someone else is the missing piece of your life. But I want to tell you something very different. Real life begins the moment you stop needing people. Understand me clearly. I am not saying you should hate people, avoid people, or escape from relationships. I am simply saying that the moment your happiness depends on another person, you have already lost your freedom. Dependency creates fear, and fear slowly destroys love. When I was young, I used to watch people very carefully. I was more interested in observing life than participating in its usual dramas. I saw husbands depending on wives for emotional comfort. I saw wives depending on husbands for security and identity. I saw friends clinging to friends because they were afraid of being alone. On the surface, these relationships looked loving. But if you looked a little deeper, you could see anxiety hidden underneath. A husband feared losing his wife. A wife feared being abandoned. Friends feared betrayal. And wherever there is fear, love cannot truly exist. Dependency always brings fear with it. If your happiness comes from someone else, then your peace can also be taken away by that same person. The moment they change their mood, your world begins to shake. The moment they move away from you, your heart begins to panic, and slowly you start holding them tightly, not out of love, but out of fear of losing them. This is why so many relationships become heavy. What begins as love slowly turns into possession. Real life begins only when your happiness becomes your own responsibility. When you realize that your joy does not come from another human being, but from your own awareness, something inside you changes. You stop chasing people to fill your emptiness. Instead, you start discovering the richness that already exists within you. I have always told my disciples that a person must first learn to be happy alone. Not lonely, but alone. There is a big difference between the two. Loneliness is when you feel incomplete without others. Aloneness is when you feel whole within yourself. Once you experience this inner wholeness, relationships become something entirely different. You no longer approach people with empty hands, asking them to fill you with love, attention, or validation. Instead, you approach them with a full heart. Then love becomes sharing, not begging. Then friendship becomes celebration, not dependency. And that is the moment real life truly begins. When you need people, you cannot truly love them. This may sound strange to you because the world has taught you the opposite. The world says that needing someone deeply is proof of love. People say, I cannot live without you, and they think this is romantic. They say, you are my whole world, and everyone applauds such words. But look deeply and you will see the hidden truth. Need is not love. Need is fear disguised as affection. The moment you need someone for your happiness, your relationship quietly becomes a business arrangement. It may not be spoken aloud, but inside there is a silent deal taking place. You give attention so that you may receive attention. You give care so that you may receive care. You give love so that love will return to you. Everything becomes a subtle exchange. And whenever there is an exchange, there is calculation. You begin to measure things. You start noticing who gives more and who gives less. If the other person does not respond the way you expected, you feel hurt. If they forget you, even for a moment, you feel rejected. Love slowly turns into a transaction. I have seen this pattern everywhere. People come to me and say they are suffering because someone they love has changed. They say the person no longer gives them the same attention, the same affection, the same importance. But the real suffering is not because love disappeared. The suffering comes from the expectation that love must always behave according to your desires. One day, a disciple asked me a question. He said, Master, I feel lonely whenever I always need someone near me. How can I escape this loneliness? I told him something that surprised him. I told him that loneliness is not the problem. In fact, loneliness can become the door to the greatest discovery of your life. When you sit alone, without distractions, without conversations, without noise, you begin to meet yourself. At first, it feels uncomfortable because you have avoided yourself for a long time. Your mind becomes restless. Your thoughts become loud. Your emotions begin to surface. But if you remain patient and aware, something beautiful begins to happen. The restlessness slowly fades, and in that silence, you start discovering a peaceful presence inside you. This discovery changes everything. Because once you learn to enjoy your own company, your relationships with others are no longer based on need. You no longer run toward people because you are afraid of being alone. Instead, you meet them from a place of fullness. Then love becomes something very pure. You do not hold the person tightly out of fear. You allow them to be free. You enjoy their presence, but you do not depend on it. Two people who do not need each other can love each other in the most beautiful way. Their relationship is not built on fear or expectation. It is built on freedom, and love that grows in freedom becomes one of the greatest joys life can offer. I have lived much of my life surrounded by thousands of people, crowds gathered to listen to me, disciples traveled long distances just to sit in silence near me, and yet inside I have always remained alone. This aloneness has never been a burden to me, it has been my greatest treasure. You must understand the difference between loneliness and loneliness. Loneliness is when you feel something is missing. You feel incomplete, as if a part of you is absent, and you are waiting for someone to come and fill that gap. Loneliness is painful because it is rooted in the idea that you are not enough by yourself, but aloneness is something entirely different. Aloneness is the realization that you are already complete. Nothing is missing. Nothing needs to be added to make you whole. When this understanding needs to gauge, silence begins to grow within you. In that silence, you start feeling a deep sense of freedom. Most people never taste this freedom because they are constantly surrounded by noise. They keep themselves busy with conversations, relationships, social expectations, and endless distractions. They fear the moment when they might have to sit alone with themselves. Why are people so afraid of being alone? Because when you are alone, you cannot escape yourself. All the thoughts you have avoided begin to appear. All the emotions you have suppressed begin to surface. The mind becomes restless and tries to push you back toward people and distractions. But if you remain patient and continue observing, something extraordinary begins to happen. The storm of thoughts slowly settles. The emotional noise begins to fade, and beneath all that chaos, you discover a calm presence. That calm presence is your true nature. Once you touch this inner stillness, your relationship with the world begins to change. People can no longer control your happiness because your happiness no longer comes from them. Praise cannot make you feel superior, and criticism cannot destroy your peace. This is what I call inner freedom. Many people believe attachments are necessary for love. They think holding on to someone tightly is proof of devotion. But attachment is not love. Attachment is fear. Attachment says, "Do not leave me because I cannot live without you." Love says, "I enjoy your presence, but I respect your freedom." Attachment turns relationship into cages. The cage may be made of gold, but it is still a cage. The cage may be may. Inside that cage, both people slowly lose their wings. When you stop needing people, something very beautiful begins to happen. Instead of clinging to others, you begin to appreciate them. You stop trying to control them. You stop demanding that they behave according to your expectations. You simply allow them to be themselves. Then relationships become light and natural. They feel like two birds flying together in the open sky, not because they are forced to, but because they enjoy the journey. And this is the miracle of inner independence. When you are complete within yourself, you can share love without fear, without possession, and without losing your freedom. Look deeply at your suffering, and you will discover a very simple truth. Most of your pain has not come from life itself. It has come from your expectations about how life and people should behave. From the very beginning, you are taught to expect many things. You expect your friends to always support you. You expect the person you love to always understand you. You expect loyalty, constant attention, and permanent affection. These expectations slowly become silent rules inside your mind. But life does not follow your rules. People change, feelings change, circumstances change. Someone who understands you today may misunderstand you tomorrow. Someone who promises to stay may one day decide to walk a different path. When these things happen, you feel betrayed. You feel hurt. You feel as if life has treated you unfairly. But look carefully. The pain is not created by the situation itself. The pain is created by the gap between reality and your expectations. You expected someone to stay forever, but life never promised that. You expected someone to understand your heart completely, but even you do not fully understand yourself. You expected love to remain the same forever, but everything in existence is constantly moving and changing. Once you begin to see this clearly, a new understanding starts to grow inside you. You realize that expecting others to complete you is an impossible demand. No human being can carry that responsibility. When you expect someone to complete you, you are placing a heavy burden on them. And sooner or later, that burden will break the relationship. This is why I have always told my disciples that the real transformation begins when you stop searching outside and start looking within. Meditation is the doorway to this discovery. When you sit silently and watch your thoughts without trying to control them, you begin to understand the nature of your mind. You start seeing how the mind constantly creates desires, expectations, and imaginary stories about the future. Slowly, through awareness, you begin to separate yourself from these patterns. You realize that you are not your expectations. You are not your fears. You are the silent witness behind them. This realization brings an incredible sense of relief. You no longer demand that people behave in a certain way to keep you happy. You no longer chase approval from others. In order to feel valuable, your happiness stops depending on the reactions of the world. Instead, you begin to experience a quiet contentment that comes from within. This inner contentment changes the way you relate to people. You stop trying to extract love from them like a beggar asking for food. Instead, you share your presence with them as a gift. When you meet someone without expectations, the relationship becomes relaxed and natural. There is no pressure to perform, no fear of disappointing each other. You simply enjoy the moment you are sharing, and strangely, when expectations disappear, love becomes much deeper. It is no longer fragile or demanding. It becomes gentle, patient, and free. This is the beauty of a life lived without psychological dependence. You are connected with people, but you are not imprisoned by them. A person who does not need people discovers a very unusual kind of power. It is not the power that the world talks about. It is not the power of money, status, or influence. It is a quiet inner strength that comes from freedom. When you stop needing people for your happiness, something inside you becomes stable. Your emotional world is no longer controlled by the actions of others. If someone praises you, it is pleasant, but it does not define you. If someone criticizes you, it may be heard, but it does not destroy you. You remain centered. This is a very rare state because most people are constantly reacting to the world around them. One kind word makes them happy, and one small rejection makes them miserable. Their emotions move up and down like a swing in the wind. But a person who has discovered inner independence lives differently. Their happiness comes from their own awareness, not from the approval of others. I have seen many people who are surrounded by friends, family, and lovers, yet they remain deeply insecure. They constantly woe, dry about losing the people they depend on. They try to control relationships, protect them, and hold them tightly. But the more tightly you hold something, the more fragile it becomes. When you stop needing people, you also stop trying to control them. You allow them to be free, just as you are free. And strangely, this freedom creates a deeper connection than attachment ever could. Think of it like two trees growing side by side in a vast forest. Each tree has its own roots deep in the earth. Each tree stands strong by itself. They do not depend on each other for survival, yet they share the same sunlight, the same wind, and the same rain. Their presence beside each other becomes a silent companionship. This is how real relationship should be. Two individuals standing strong in their own being, sharing life without trying to possess one another. When need disappears, love becomes lighter. There is no fear of abandonment because your happiness does not collapse if someone leaves. There is no jealousy because you are not trying to own another person's life. Instead, you begin to appreciate people in a new way. If someone enters your life, you welcome them with gratitude. If they walk away, you let them go with understanding. Their presence was a gift, not a necessity. This attitude brings tremendous peace. Your relationships stop being emotional battles filled with demands and disappointments. They become simple experiences of connection and sharing. And something very beautiful begins to happen. People start feeling comfortable around you. They feel your freedom, your calmness, your lack of pressure. Most relationships in the world are heavy because both people are unconsciously demanding something from each other. But when you meet someone without demands, the space becomes relaxed and natural. Your presence itself becomes soothing. This is the power of a person what? Or no longer needs people to feel complete. Their independence creates a quiet magnetism. Others are drawn to them, not because they are trying to impress anyone, but because true freedom is deeply attractive. And in that freedom, love finally becomes what it was always meant to be, a sharing between two whole beings, not a rescue mission between two imperfect ones. So, remember this simple truth. Real life begins the moment you stop needing people. Until that moment, much of what you call life is only a search for approval, a search for attention, a search for someone who will tell you that you are enough. Most people spend their entire lives in this search. They move from one relationship to another, hoping that the next person will finally bring them peace. For a short time, they feel excitement, they feel comfort, and they believe they have found what they were looking for. But slowly the same problems return. Expectations appear again. Fear of losing the person appears again. Small misunderstandings grow into conflicts, and once more they feel empty. This cycle continues again and again because the real problem has never been solved. The real problem is the belief that someone else must complete you. I have always told my disciples that the moment you realize you are already complete, a great transformation begins. Your life stops revolving around the opinions and presence of others. You no longer chase approval from the world. You no longer feel desperate for attention. You no longer shape your personality just to be liked by people. Instead, you begin to live authentically. Living authentically means you allow yourself to be exactly who you are. You speak honestly. You think independently. You follow your own understanding rather than blindly following the expectations of society. This kind of life requires courage because the world is full of people who depend on approval. When someone stops seeking approval, they appear unusual, sometimes even mysterious. But there is a quiet beauty in such a person. When you become complete within yourself, something very interesting begins to happen. You stop chasing relationships, yet relationships begin to come toward you naturally. People feel something peaceful in your presence. They feel that you are not trying to use them, to fill your emptiness. They feel that you are simply sharing your energy, your understanding, and your presence. And that kind of presence is rare. A person who needs nothing from others becomes very attractive in a deep, silent way. It is not the attraction of charm or appearance. It is the attraction of authenticity and inner freedom. Then love becomes something very different from what most people know. You can love someone deeply without feeling afraid of losing them. You can enjoy their company without feeling dependent on it. You can allow them to grow, change, and follow their own path without trying to control them. This is what real love looks like. Love that is born from need becomes possessive and fragile. But love that is born from inner completeness becomes generous and strong. So do not try to fill your emptiness with people. No one can truly fill it for you. Instead, turn your attention inward. Sit quietly. Watch your thoughts. Become aware of your own being. Slowly, through awareness, you will discover a deep sense of peace within yourself. And once you discover that peace, you will understand something very important. You can love people with your whole heart while still needing no one. And that is the moment when real life truly begins.